Hi, man. So, here's the revolting father. I call him Dad. Revolting men don't just matriculate, they come from somewhere. And hopefully, if this goes well, I'll be able to show you more of him in the future. We've got some fun stories to tell. But today we're making jerky. We're two jerks jerking jerky. And right now we're doing the, what are we doing, the rub or the...
No, we're actually going to prepare the marinade for the jerky itself. Now before I get started, when you start making jerky, jerky is just a way to preserve meat. American Indians did it. They would take a piece of buffalo and cut it in strips about that wide, and it would be just very, very thin, and they'd roll it up after they dried it and stuff. And sometimes they'd grind it into powder, and it was called pemmican. But there's several ways of making jerky. For those of you that aren't into making your own stuff, Cabela's has jerky kits. They're very, very good. This particular box had 5 different flavors in it. They're good for 25 pounds, 5 pounds for each flavor. I happen to have one flavor left, so we're going to use that as the base of our jerky. Commercial jerky has lots of other elements in it. So we're going to start out with, because you're preserving the meat, you have to start with salt. Salt and dehydration is what's going to preserve the meats on these things.
And I got lots of it. No, I have one video about salt, how important salt is. This is why. So you can make jerky.
So this is just cheap Worcestershire sauce. I got it at our local Ingles store. This is 10 ounces. Now, normally the recipes that you get online, they'll tell you, well, this is good for 2 pounds. We're going to be making 13 pounds. And you can use all kind of cuts of beef. We had sirloin tips on sale this week, and so we're going to have sirloin jerky, which is very good. You want to make sure you get a cut that's not too marbled. You don't want a lot of fat in it, because fat is what goes rancid on the meat. So if you have just the lean beef, there's not a lot of chances that it will go bad on you.
This is a good dating tip too, by the way. Keep that in mind when you're choosing your women. That's not true. You want a little bit of fat on your women. I know Dean and David are watching this right now, screaming, "No, no, no!" They don't like skinny women.
All right. So, lots of salt in Worcestershire, or if you're my Uncle Bud, who could never say that, he'd say, "What's this here sauce?"
What's this here sauce?
What's this here sauce? I'm using 20 ounces of Worcestershire sauce. This particular recipe calls for bourbon.
Be strong, men.
Now, I'm not a drinker. I had to go to my local liquor store and say, sell me cheap whiskey. Because what's going to happen is we're going to make this jerky. It's going to be in a smoker that's going to be somewhere around 180 degrees. So it's going to burn off most of the alcohol. You'll just get the effect of the whiskey flavor. Now there's several ways of making jerky. You can do it like we're going to do this particular batch in a smoker, so that you get a real heavy smoke taste. You can do it in a dehydrator. I happen to have a small one. We'll show you. We'll do a small batch when we get to the smoking part of it. Or you can do it in the oven. Or you can build a fire and put a rack next to it, and you can dry it next to a campfire. So you saw that this is all being done very precisely, so we're going to add the whiskey, and since I'm not a drinker, I'm just going to add all of it.
That hurt. I was hoping to maybe be able to salvage some of that.
All right. Now, if you're going to do it in a dehydrator, there's a product out there called liquid smoke. Okay, this is a smoky flavor that comes in a bottle. It's a cheat. Smoking takes time. We're going to have to put this beef in the smoker for around 6 to 8 hours. My butcher didn't cut it as thinly as I wanted him to, so I'm going to have more prep on the beef. But you can use liquid smoke if you want to get that smoky flavor, and use your oven or a dehydrator. Okay, we have some things we need to add here. One is cayenne pepper. Now you can get cayenne pepper that's actually been smoked already, and they say it gives it a real fine, smoky, kind of hot flavor to it. I've never used it. Matter of fact, I've never even seen it in my local store. So we're going to put a teaspoonful of cayenne pepper. My sons are little girls, and so I can't make it too hot for them because they'll all cry at Daddy.
It says right there, use sparingly, 4 alarm.
Yeah.
Follow directions.
Now this is just regular garlic powder. You can use garlic salt, but if you do, with all the Worcestershire in there, or Worcestershire sauce, you're looking for a real salty mix. So I'm going to take 2 garlics because I happen to like garlic. And after 45 years of marriage, I don't have to worry about my wife not wanting to kiss me. The mix that we're using is sweet and hot mix from Cabela's. One of these packages is the actual flavoring. This package is the preserving salts. Okay, it's several different kind of salts mixed together. So we're going to add that. Then we're going to add the sweet and hot mix. They've got at Cabela's, they've got it in teriyaki. They've got it in the. I really like the ground pepper sauce that they have. And this is honey maple rub. We're going to do a brisket, and we'll actually rub the brisket with this before we put it in the smoker. So 2 tablespoons of this. Yeah, I'll make it 3 tablespoons of that. A little sweet never hurt, right? All right. Now you want to mix this up real good. I went and I bought a 13-pound sirloin tip. You can see that the butcher cut it in about 1/4-inch strips. I wanted it to be about 1/8, but he was whining at me, said he had trouble doing it. So
the butcher butchered it.
In order to now we could actually soak these and make these into soak them, smoke them, and make it into jerky, but that's kind of hard to handle there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting strips. Now I won't subject you to all of the strips that I have to cut, but you're just going to take them and you're going to make them in workable strips. You're going to try to take anything like this fat off, because again, the fat is the thing that gets rancid. If you have enough room in your refrigerator, you can just leave them in the bowl. I don't, so because we've got all that other meat and stuff in there, and it's going to be in there for a couple of days, plus other things the wife has been making. So I'm going to, after I get this stuff started good, I'm going to put it in plastic freezer bags. Now there's no hard and fast rules about how long you have to soak this. I think the longer you soak it, the more of the marinade that gets into the meat. So I like to soak it at least 24 hours. When you start reading the net, some people will soak it for as little as an hour.
Now, will this preserve it all, or is
yes, because there's all the salt in there. So it's going to preserve it. The shelf life on this stuff is going to be somewhere around 3 to 6 months. Of course, it loses. I mean, it gets kind of nasty, but you can still eat it after that long and not have to worry about being sick.
So all the salt was in the Worcestershire sauce. What's this here sauce?
Well, that's what you use as your base, because there's a lot of salt in that. But I did add a packet of the Cabela's
that's where the salt
brining salts.
Gotcha.
So
you said that, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
That didn't register with me.
All right. We've been cutting away at this beef that my butcher let me down on, but I want you to look in here. It's real important that you get all the beef. Let me cut a piece. That you get all the beef covered in the marinade. Okay? If it goes in like this and stays like this, you know, even though the piece is covered, the inside isn't going to have, see how it's dry there and it doesn't have marinade? So you want to be sure that each piece gets completely immersed in the marinade on all sides. Because if not, you don't have the salt going into the meat to preserve it. So that's an important step when you're doing this. All right, as you can see, we have our 12 pounds of meat here cut down into strips. It's going to marinate. Like I said, I like to leave it 24 hours and keep it covered. I'm going to transfer this from this bowl into 1 gallon freezer bags and put it in the refrigerator so it won't take up much room, and let it marinate. And then after tomorrow, probably Saturday, we'll fire up the smoker, we'll load up the racks, and we'll begin the 8 hours worth of smoking.